Good morning, everyone. I'm Katsuya Eguchi with Nintendo. Thank you for taking the time to attend our session today. I'm going to give my speech in Japanese, so please use your headphone if you want to listen in English. Reiko Inomiya with Nintendo of America is going to interpret my presentation.
Please allow me to start with a brief introduction. I'm quickly coming up on my 28th anniversary since starting at Nintendo. I started at Nintendo just as the family computer disk system was being launched in Japan, and I worked on a variety of games from the Famicom generation. And with regard to Animal Crossing, which will be the topic of our presentation today, I have been involved in the series as the title's lead game designer from the first game, which was released in 2000 in Japan on the Nintendo 64, and I transitioned into the role of the game's producer, starting with Animal Crossing Wild World. This is the second time for me to be presenting at GDC. At that time, my presentation happened very near the release of Animal Crossing Wild World for the Nintendo DS, and so Animal Crossing was the subject of that presentation as well. During that presentation, I spoke about what I thought the main theme of Animal Crossing was, including the kinds of things we as developers took into consideration and how we went about developing the handheld version of a game that was originally developed for a console system. And I also introduced the new features and gameplay elements we thought would be effective on a handheld system. After the release of the Nintendo DS version, the series returned to the console system with Animal Crossing City Folk for Wii. And then, in November of 2012 in Japan and June of 2013 in the US, Animal Crossing New Leaf was launched for the Nintendo 3DS system. And with this latest installment, we were very happy that the feedback we got from series fans and new players alike was overwhelmingly positive. It was such a success that we enjoyed a period of time in Japan that stock shortages continued for a while. I remember wanting to get the limited edition Animal Crossing design Nintendo 3DS XL system for my daughter, but because it was so popular, and even though I worked on development, I remember what a struggle it was for me to get my hands on one myself. Because the game is meant to be played throughout the course of the year with its various events, the download version makes a lot of sense, as it's always on the system. Players can easily play Animal Crossing in tandem with another game without having to swap the game card in and out. I think many people who opted to go with the download version would probably agree with me. Also, because of its compatibility with existing SNS or social networking services, players can tell others how they've paid off their home loan, or change their room layout in Animal Crossing through screenshots as well as text, in the same way that people share their real-life experiences through these services. People seem to be enjoying having scenes from their games appear in their real-life worlds. When you hear me explain it in this way, you might be led to believe that Animal Crossing New Leaf was introduced as part of a franchise series without any challenges. But as a development project, it wasn't all smooth sailing from the beginning. Today, Aya Kyogoku, who joined the Animal Crossing development team starting with the Wii version City Folk, and was heavily involved in everything from the early planning stages all the way through the launch of Animal Crossing New Leaf as the title's lead game designer, will be speaking about how New Leaf started, what considerations were made during development, and what she learned through her involvement on both projects. And lastly, she will speak about what she considers most important when working on a franchise title. Please, Ms. Kyogoku. Remove your headphones for English, please.
morning. I'm Aya Kyogoku with Nintendo. Thank you for attending our session today. This is also the second time for me to come to GDC. But last time, I was here at GDC last year as an attendee. All sessions I attended were really impressive and motivated me. So when Mr. Eguchi asked me why I wanted to come to GDC this year, I was very happy and I didn't hesitate in my reply. But then he said that I will be presenting. This was a complete surprise and totally unexpected. But I'm really glad to be here now. And I will be happy if I can give back even a little of the excitement I received last year. Before I get started, I'd like to introduce myself. I've been working at Nintendo as a game designer since 2003. And I am a member of EAD, the Entertainment, Analysis, and Development Department of Nintendo, led by Mr. Miyamoto. Our department, EAD, is responsible for developing game software to be released into the world. In other words, we are the internal development team. On the one hand, while we work on existing franchises like Mario, Zelda, and Animal Crossing, we also work on new titles and franchises like Wii Sports and Wii Fit. By the way, when I started, I was its first female game designer in EAD. We are still largely in the minority, but gradually more and more female partners are joining the department. If you are the other roles, female developers are increasing at an impressive rate. And the percentage of male and female developers is evening out. Particularly on the Animal Crossing New Leaf team, almost half of those involved were women. When I first started in the gaming industry, it wasn't uncommon to be the only woman on the entire team. I always felt welcomed, and I never felt awkward. In my years at Nintendo, I have come to discover that when there are women in a variety of roles on the project, you get a wider array of opinions and ideas. So when you are trying to create something that will appeal to many types of people, I have experienced how beneficial it is to have diversity on your team. At EAD, I first worked on 2 Zelda projects, The Legend of Zelda: Four Swords Adventures and The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess as a scriptwriter. And in 2007, I started working on Animal Crossing project. My first project was working as an assistant director on Animal Crossing City Folk for Wii. But even though I worked as the director on Animal Crossing New Leaf, and I'm here at GDC to talk about the Animal Crossing franchise, it's not as though I had a clear sense for what Animal Crossing was, or what the franchise was from the beginning. I even felt serious pressure when I was assigned as the lead game designer on Animal Crossing New Leaf, because I thought we had to change and innovate to sustain and grow the franchise. So, what were our initial thoughts before development? What did we actually do during development? And what did we learn throughout the process of development? Today, I'm going to talk about aspects of development that we as game developers normally don't get to talk about. And I'm also going to share our philosophy regarding franchises with you. I'm going to present the main topics of my presentation in Japanese through simultaneous interpretation. Please use your headphone again if you prefer English.
Okay, please let me start by briefly talking about Animal Crossing City Folk for Wii, before talking about Animal Crossing New Leaf. One of the goals of Animal Crossing City Folk for Wii was to launch the Japanese, North American, and European versions at roughly the same time. Until this point, on the Animal Crossing series, we had only begun work on the overseas version after the Japanese version was complete. So this was the first time for the series that we were challenged with a simultaneous worldwide launch. Animal Crossing localization doesn't just involve translating game text, which because of the volume of text is a challenge in and of itself, but we had to make sure the events and items in the game, along with conversations, felt familiar for users in each country. In addition, with the Wii version, because we made it possible for players in different regions like the US and Europe to play together via Wi-Fi, and because we wanted to provide distinct experiences for each territory, we spent much time and energy on culturalization in order to make these things happen. This was a huge challenge, and the whole team worked as one to deliver a complete product in the end. The product was completed, and during the 2008 holiday season, people around the world played Animal Crossing City Folk. Unfortunately, though, not everyone who bought the game was completely satisfied with the experience. Of course, it is near impossible for any game to completely satisfy everyone who plays it. But with Animal Crossing City Folk, it was clear that there were challenges that the series needed to overcome. So, what were those challenges? In order to find the solution, we looked closely at series fatigue. The first version of Animal Crossing was released in 2000, and we continued to drag and replant its roots with each version. With every new entry into the series, we continued to add new animals and furniture and fresh content and features. But players still moved into a new town alone. They choose where they'd live. They were forced to take on a mortgage, and they were required to work for Tom Nook. Those things remained constant with each game. In addition, when Animal Crossing for the DS was launched, it sold more than 10 times the number of units of the Nintendo GameCube version, so a serve the flow that I mentioned previously had become part of the game's convention, and mistakenly, we assumed that we should continue to utilize it. We were also aware and tied to the understanding that the DS version was a hit, and that, I think, also made us too afraid to consider changing the formula. As a result, we mistakenly stayed the course as we worked on the Wii version, even though this was the time that we needed to consider making changes. Because we were so reluctant to change what was familiar about the series, fans of the series started to feel like the world was isolated, and I started to feel like it had become something that couldn't keep people coming back. Having been confronted with these challenges, and in looking forward to the development of Animal Crossing for Nintendo 3DS, the team and I decided to return to the roots of the game and rethink the conventions of Animal Crossing. As I'm sure some of you are aware, the EAD team led by Eiji Aonuma has announced that as part of their development process, they are rethinking the conventions of the Legend of Zelda franchise. But as work began on New Leaf, for the same reason, we too began rethinking the conventions of Animal Crossing. But where should we start solving the problem of series fatigue? We knew the solution wasn't going to be as simple as changing something on the surface or adding content to the game like we had in the past. But at the same time, we were aware that overhauling it completely meant risking making it something that was no longer part of the series. So we turned the question around and asked ourselves, what is the key Animal Crossing concept that we really needed to carry through in the series? This wasn't a surface question about the specs that we implemented as part of the overall game design. Rather, we started to think about what was at the core of the Animal Crossing that players got enjoyment from and kept them coming back for more, for longer stretches of time. If someone asks, what do you do in Animal Crossing? Because this is a game in which you can do so much, and because there isn't a clear goal, this is a question that is difficult to answer in one word, even for those of us who developed the game. But if you think about its core, there's one phrase that sums it up. And that phrase is, Animal Crossing is a communication tool. In the Animal Crossing world, time passes just like it does in the real world, and events happen during each of the seasons. If it's New Year's in the real world, it's New Year's in Animal Crossing. And a full moon in the game means that when you look out your real window, on a clear night, you might see a full moon there as well. Each world's calendar is affected by the other. Players can send and receive letters and presents to their animal neighbors and other players. They can even visit other towns or host a friend. They can even engage in small talk. Communication is what all Animal Crossing games have in common, and what the game specs support. The game was built to support these seeds of communication. Just as communication with the animals becomes a catalyst for communication with other players, we work to make communication within the game reach beyond the game and inspire real-world communication. And I believe creating this chain reaction of communication is integral to the core of Animal Crossing and is what motivates many players to keep playing the game throughout the course of the year. In addition, even if there isn't someone close by to play with, I think the desire to show other people the fruits of your labor by sharing your room design, for example, acts as motivation for players to invite friends over or continue to play their games and improve their towns. This is another way that I feel this game is closely tied to communication. When the GameCube version came out, there wasn't a way to play across systems or titles, so players would mainly play with their families or others that lived under the same roof. They would live in the same town within the same game and play and communicate at different times of the day. However, since the DS version was portable, not only did you not have to wait for a time when the TV was free, which made playing easier, but family members who lived in the same house in real life could live in separate towns in the game, expanding their options. And they were able to visit each other using local wireless or an internet connection, increase the opportunities and ways of interacting with other people. Even though life within Animal Crossing is not real, the enjoyment from sending and receiving birthday presents, spending time together during a seasonal event, or just showing friends your favorite room is fundamentally the same thing we do now in real life through various social network services. Communicating by sharing our daily lives with family, friends, and colleagues. Furthermore, because life in Animal Crossing is fictitious, communication can be done more freely, which is something unique to a game. For example, when giving a birthday present in the game, because real money isn't involved, there's nothing stopping you from giving that perfect gift, something your friend will really appreciate. Likewise, it might take a lot of courage to ask a friend you aren't really close to if you can go over to their real-world house. But if you were to say, I want to visit your Animal Crossing house, I think it would be much easier for both sides to agree. In other words, through shared interest in a video game, an opportunity to speak in real life is created, And by communicating within the game, it creates an occasion to thank the other person or share one another's thoughts, even about real-life happenings. In that sense, I think that communication exchanged through Animal Crossing can help harmonize interpersonal relationships in the real world. That reminds me of how, in the last weeks and days of development, when we were all running at capacity, our team was told by those around us that we didn't appear to have that sense of tension that is so common. That as a group, we didn't show the normal signs of 11th hour stress. I think the reason for this might have something to do with the subdued mood of the game, but I also feel that because the game encourages communication between people, this also had a significant influence on the team. For example, these are actual photos from when the team was working on Animal Crossing New Leaf. In the same way that there were various events in the game, the development team enjoyed celebrating Christmas and each other's birthdays and putting together barbecues and other parties. While we were test playing, we would ask around for turnip prices, visit the town with the highest turnip price, and leave a present as a thank you gift or contribute to the town's public works project. Though we were testing the game, it really felt like we were playing with the actual product, and it was a lot of fun. In this way, I think we staff members also used Animal Crossing to enjoy communicating with each other, and I think it helped the team's mood. If any of you here today are sensing high levels of development stress on your teams, if you think it would help, I would really be happy if you were to share Animal Crossing New Leaf with your teams as well. At any rate, as a result of our rethinking the conventions of Animal Crossing, we discovered once again that Animal Crossing was a communication tool, and that this was the core that we needed to carry forward. So did we feel that we ignored this fact when we created the Wii version? Of course, that wasn't the case at all. However, in the same way that staying true to previous versions of the game made the experience feel stale to some fans, we had also planted the same seeds of communication that we had in the past, and as a result, we weren't able to spread the appropriate seeds of communication in such a way that they would take root and be experienced in the way we intended in the environment that was the Wii hardware. And from the moment we realized this, we decided there were two things we had to do with the new Animal Crossing. First, we needed to prune the dead, dry leaves that were blossoms from previously planted seeds. And the other was to plant new seeds of communication in the ground. And so, based on this direction, we made it a point with Animal Crossing New Leaf to add features that allow users to experience the kind of communication that was suitable for the time. For example, we tried to make communication with others easier by adding a wider variety of features. Up until now, if you wanted to play with a friend, you would actually have to call them or text them to see if they were playing Animal Crossing at the same time that you were. However, in this version, with the addition of the Best Friend spec, we made it possible for players to choose to see when friends who are registered and confirmed as their best friends are playing or not. In addition, from within the game, these notifications arrive automatically and make it possible to chat without ever leaving the comforts of your own town. In this way, we made it possible for players to choose to chat directly with one another and feel the presence of a friend who is playing Animal Crossing at the same time, even without being in the same town. On the other hand, we also made it a point to incorporate features that allow people to interact with Animal Crossing fans across the world and feel the presence of other players, even if they don't have friends or family close by that are playing the game. As you can see in this footage, by utilizing the Street Pass feature unique to the Nintendo 3DS, players can exchange house data, which is then displayed in the Happy Home Showcase in their towns for them to browse and enjoy. We've also added features like the Tropical Island, where players can play with others via random matching. And the Dream Suite, where players can upload their town data to the server and have others visit their towns in a dream after downloading it through random searches by country, by player name, or by ID. Since you can easily share houses or towns you like with others using the Dream ID, popular towns, along with their screenshots, were picked up by many SNS blog sites and other media, reaching beyond just Animal Crossing players. Even with a familiar spec like the ability to customize clothes and signs using hand-drawn dot images, we've added a feature that allows the player to create QR code patterns that can easily be shared through SNS and other services. Once someone reads these QR code patterns within the game, they can easily be put to use, whether it's by wearing the design or placing it on the ground. With QR code patterns, sharing designs is very simple. It eliminates the gap between people who are good at drawing and those who aren't, and also adds a form of communication using custom designs. By the way, we created the GDC design on the flag and on the player's t-shirt in the screenshot you see here, especially for today, using the custom design feature in the game. I can convert this to a QR code pattern and share it, so if you have New Leaf, all you would need to do is scan it with the camera in the game, and the design would appear in your town as well. To facilitate the sharing of custom designs and screenshots using just the 3DS, and to allow people to enjoy custom designs and screenshots outside of the game, we also developed the Nintendo 3DS image share tool that allows the player to post their Twitter, Facebook, and Tumblr accounts. This service was not exclusive to Animal Crossing, but there are several titles that allow screenshots to be taken straight from the game. This feature allows someone that doesn't have a setup that allows them to transfer save data from their SD card to upload their game screens directly from their 3DS. Of course, this made posting pictures easier, but by increasing the number of ways players can share images from their games, we intentionally made it possible for players to have fun with Animal Crossing content, like seeing someone's impressive custom design or a funny screenshot, even when they aren't actively playing. We've also had Isabel, the secretary, tweet about her town, as well as notify people of upcoming events via her official Twitter account. This account exists in many different countries. Isabel has become quite the polyglot, speaking 7 different languages. She has a following of over 180,000 in Japan alone. In August of 2013, we also launched Animal Crossing Plaza for the Wii U console, where people can enjoy interacting through the Miiverse service provided by Nintendo. Miiverse was originally just for Wii U and the web, but it can now be accessed through the Nintendo 3DS. This way, many consumers and younger audiences that don't have an SNS account can also enjoy this service. And recently, we held an Animal Crossing drawing challenge through another Nintendo title, Art Academy Sketchpad. In this and other ways, we are utilizing the Miiverse game community to its fullest to hold events that span across titles. By linking the various services, we created various opportunities for people to interactively enjoy the spirit of Animal Crossing, even outside of the game itself. In doing so, we were also able to proactively create occasions for people to learn about Animal Crossing even after the game had launched. In this way, we spread the new seeds of communication and worked hard to create new ways for people to communicate, but there was one more thing that we focused on during this time. And that was improving the hook that gets people interested in Animal Crossing in the first place. I touched on this earlier when I talked about confronting the cause of series fatigue. We focused on finding ways to get lapsed fans to pick up the game again and to make fans and people with series awareness think, this Animal Crossing game looks like fun, even before getting hands-on time with it. We focused on this because communication is central to Animal Crossing, and so it was imperative that we get both new players and series fans alike to feel like the game was relevant to them. It was also imperative that we maximize on opportunities to get as many people to communicate via Animal Crossing as possible. Okay, so I've spoken so far about how during the development of Animal Crossing New Leaf, we took concepts and ultimately implemented them into the final product using actual examples. And lastly, I would like to talk to you about how development happened. In the process of implementing the features I've just introduced, we, as directors and planners who are responsible for game design, have to put it all together for the team. But even more important than sharing what the specifications are, we put our emphasis on getting the team to understand why the specs were chosen in the first place. To give you a more concrete idea of what I'm talking about, as I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, we took what we learned from the Wii version and shared it not only with the staff that was involved with the development of the Wii version, but new members of the team as well. We used the internal development project website to spread awareness about the franchise amongst the staff, including post-mortem reports, which we posted alongside spec docs for the new project. Now, this may be different depending on the country you work in or the size of the project, but within the EAD development team at Nintendo, we all have different roles we play during the development process. But a common purpose we all share is to create fun games that will put smiles on the faces of our consumers. So in order to achieve this goal, regardless of our roles, whether someone is a director, planner, designer, programmer, or composer, we have made it a point to share ideas or opinions we have about any specification during development. And because of this, it is crucial to have a common understanding of the ideology that formed the foundation of the game's design. I think everyone here has experienced a time when you weren't able to implement the specification as you had initially intended, whether it be due to technical or schedule limitations, or maybe it just wasn't a viable idea to begin with. But even during those times when spec changes become necessary, going beyond the surface of what the spec is and sharing the deeper understanding of the role the spec plays within the game might help identify what changes are feasible. It may also help generate other effective ideas, while at the same time minimizing deviation from the core idea. In the case of the Animal Crossing team, in addition to openly sharing even vague ideas for features like, it would be great if we could do such and such, team members also contributed character, furniture, clothing, and other design-related ideas as we progressed through development. Ultimately, of course, it's the job of the designer to create the model and texture data and arrange it so that the design looks its best. But we created an environment where people felt free to present their design ideas through quick sketches, regardless of their official role within the group. For example, the sketches you see here were presented as ideas during development on New Leaf, alongside the final design that went into the game. A number of staff members presented their ideas through simple sketches like the ones on the left. These designs were reworked by the graphic designer responsible for those pieces, adjustments were made, and the end result was often included in the game as data, like the images you see on the right. By doing this, we opened ourselves up to get ideas from a variety of tastes and likings, and this is reflected in the game's content as well. And of course, not only are a variety of roles within the team represented, but male and female staffers from a variety of ages participated, and we were really able to leverage the diversity of the development team and represent it in the game. This is something that we couldn't have achieved if just one person was given this responsibility. So this is the approach we took in developing Animal Crossing New Leaf. But with old fans and new players alike enjoying the game, knowing that men and women of varying ages are among them, in looking back to the early days of development, and as I explained during my presentation today, being able to reflect on the franchise as a whole, I believe that redefining the core was what the core was, and building from that base was certainly good for Animal Crossing New Leaf, and benefited the Animal Crossing franchise as a whole. Today, I spoke mainly using Animal Crossing franchise development as my case study, but I think the ideas shared around how we utilize a base or center when developing Animal Crossing New Leaf can be applied effectively for all franchise title development. I think the three key elements necessary to developing a franchise are: first, to clearly define the essential seeds of the franchise. Second, to share those seeds with the development team. And finally, to not be afraid of change and to spread seeds based on timing and hardware capabilities. At the core of Animal Crossing are the seeds of communication, but any franchise has a core that people are drawn to and love. Identifying that core and sharing that image with dev team members, staying flexible when considering what to keep and what to change depending on the timing and the environment of the game's launch. These practices will keep the franchise value from being something fleeting and instead make it something that continues to thrive and remain relevant. This is something that we really felt as we worked on developing Animal Crossing New Leaf. These three elements don't only apply when developing games for an existing franchise, but for new titles as well. However, because existing franchises have a past legacy and the trajectory's direction can change for better or for worse, in addition to possibly determining the best approach to take, reflecting on the fundamental aspects of your game could also be key to unveiling new and unexpected hints and ideas. And as for us, as we move forward in developing new projects in the future, we too will keep in mind the three elements necessary to developing a franchise. And for example, if one of those projects happens to be a new installment in the Animal Crossing series, I will make sure to put communication at the center and spread seeds suitable for the time and environment and continue to turn new leaves to nurture the Animal Crossing tree into a large one filled with history. I look forward to getting the opportunity to share those processes and the results with you again at GDC. I'd like to call Mr. Eguchi back. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. I'm sure there are many of you here that, like us, are currently working on a title for existing franchise, or looking to create a franchise and have it grow to become a popular brand. I hope that we were able to share with you today something that will serve as a helpful hint in some way towards your development efforts. Our talk today was focused on the perspective of developers who are working on the day-to-day, but I would like to touch upon two things from a development management perspective. First of all, I'd like to talk about the importance of diversity within the development organization. When I began work on the first Animal Crossing as the title's lead game designer, we wanted to make sure that the content allowed all players to express their individuality. And we also wanted to ensure it was something that men and women of all ages would have fun playing. So in order to view the project from a variety of perspectives, we made sure the team was made up of people from various backgrounds with varying life experiences. In hindsight, in seeing how diverse the users and fans of Animal Crossing New Leaf and the Animal Crossing series as a whole are, I feel as though we might have taken the correct approach. As we discussed in today's presentation, diversity on the development team contributed to the diversity of content in the game. It was necessary for us to be flexible when building the team so that it supported the game's design and represented the game's target audience. The hope being that in turn, we would be able to create something that appeals to that audience. And for us, this diversity was not limited to the content of one title, but also expanded the variety of games that we were able to develop. And as a result, we have been able to produce experiences that appeal to a wide variety of audiences. The second point I'd like to talk about is a franchise's potential from a producer's perspective. One popular franchise has the potential to evolve not just itself, but the scope of the platform, as well as other franchises on the same platform. For example, when Animal Crossing was first released on the Nintendo 64 system in Japan, it sold in the hundreds of thousands. As the series progressed, the Nintendo DS version, Animal Crossing Wild World, showed how compatible the game's design is with a portable device, pushing even hardware sales, and grew to become a large franchise, gaining popularity in North America as well as Europe. And Animal Crossing New Leaf has currently sold a total of 7,380,000 games worldwide. And with the release of this title, as well as Pokémon X and Y, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, and other franchises, the Nintendo 3DS install base has grown significantly, with sales currently reaching 42,740,000 units worldwide. Recently, there has been an increase in the number of independent developers to the point where an independent developer summit has been held here at GDC. Nintendo 3DS is a platform suited to support a wide variety of software, ranging from something very simple to something more engrossing, and can be developed for with relative ease and little time compared to a console. We, of course, also have the option to go with either a packaged retail release or downloadable software to cut down on production costs. In addition, I believe there are great opportunities for North American and European developers to increase awareness about their games by releasing them in Japan, where the 3DS has the greatest install base, just by localizing their games. We would love to work with you to help both of our franchises grow, bringing excitement to the gaming industry and bringing smiles to the faces of game fans across the globe. I look forward to working with you to create even better games. Thank you for attending our session today.